Today, we are popping the cork on Cava. Now, you've probably seen it on the shelf, maybe you've even had a glass or two, but this is so much more than just a fun, bubbly drink from Spain. Seriously, behind those bubbles, there's this incredible story of identity, tradition, and a unique Spanish character that we are absolutely going to get into. Okay, let's just get the big one out of the way, right? When you hear sparkling wine from Europe, your brain probably jumps straight to champagne. So it's no surprise that a lot of people ask, hey, is Cava just, Spanish champagne? Well, let me tell you, that is the single biggest misconception out there, and we're about to see exactly why. See, Cava has its own history, its own amazing grapes, and a really proud identity that's all its own. It's not a copy of anything. So what's the real story here? Okay, let's dive right in and find out what makes Cava such a true Spanish original. To really, truly understand Cava, we've got to go back, way back to its roots in 19th century Catalonia. This is where a few, let's say, visionary winemakers were looking at what their French neighbors were doing, but they were determined to create something that was uniquely and proudly Spanish. It all kicks off in 1872 with this one guy, Joseph Reventos. He takes a trip to Champagne, comes back totally inspired, and decides he's going to make a world-class sparkling wine using that same meticulous method. And he does. His work really laid the groundwork for everything. Then you fast forward almost a century to 1970, and Cava gets its own official status, the DO Cava, to protect what makes it special. And then the big one, 1986. Spain joins the EU, and Cava goes from being a Spanish secret to a global superstar. So I just mentioned that DO Cava thing. What exactly is it? Well, it's not just a name they slap on a bottle. It's a promise. It's a super strict set of rules that guarantees every single bottle with Cava on the label meets this incredibly high standard for quality and, importantly, authenticity. The best way to think of the Denominación de Origen, or DO for short, is like a seal of quality. It's a legally protected status, and there's an official council that makes sure everyone's following the rules. It guarantees everything about the wine, from where the grapes were grown to how those tiny bubbles actually got into the bottle. It's the official rulebook for the real deal. So what's in this rulebook? Well, it all pretty much boils down to three fundamental pillars: where it's made, what it's made from, and how it's made. That's it. The region, the grapes, and the method. If you get those three things right, you've got authentic Cava. So let's break each one of them down. First up, the region. Now, while Cava can technically be produced in a few other spots in Spain, like Rioja or Navarra, its spiritual and literal heartland is Penedès in Catalonia. This place, with its perfect Mediterranean climate, is responsible for over 95% of all the Cava made in the entire world. It's the heart of it all. Okay, next up, the grapes. And this is where Cava really finds its Spanish soul. The classic blend is this trio of native Spanish grapes. I like to think of them like a band. First up, you've got Macabeo. This is your lead singer, right? It provides that wonderful freshness, that vibrant acidity, and all those delicate floral and citrus notes. Then you've got Charolais. And if Macabeo is the singer with the fresh vocals, Charolais is the powerhouse drummer, laying down a solid beat. This grape gives Cava its body, its structure, and this really unique earthy complexity that also helps it age so beautifully. This one is absolutely crucial to the blend. And rounding out our little band is Peralada. This one's the lead guitarist, adding all the finesse and the beautiful melody. It's grown at higher altitudes, and it brings in this amazing crisp acidity and these delicate green apple and citrus aromas. It's what gives Cava its signature elegance. Put them all together, and you get a true symphony of flavor. Okay, so we've got the right place and the right grapes. But how do you get those beautiful, tiny little bubbles? Well, this brings us to our third pillar, the magic of the traditional method. This is a really labor-intensive process, and for Cava, it is completely non-negotiable. So let's break this down real quick. It all starts as a normal still wine, but then the magic happens. They add a special mix of yeast and sugar, seal it up in the bottle you're going to buy, and that kicks off a second fermentation. This is literally where the party starts, because it creates all that carbon dioxide that gets trapped as bubbles. After it ages for a while, they remove the yeast and then add a tiny bit of sweetened wine called the dosage, just to balance out the final flavor. Now, that aging step is so important. The wine has to rest on its lees, that's the technical term for the used-up yeast cells, for a minimum of 9 months. And this isn't just waiting around. This is where the Cava develops its complex character, picking up all those toasty, nutty notes that separate a good sparkling wine from a truly great one. 9 months. That's the absolute baseline. And you can see right here how that aging really defines the different quality levels. A standard Cava has that 9-month minimum, but when you see Reserva on the label, that jumps to at least 15 months. And for the top tier, the Gran Reserva, we're talking a minimum of 30 months of aging. It's simple. More time means more complexity, finer bubbles, and a much richer flavor. Okay, so now we know how it's made. Let's get practical. With all these rules and aging tiers, how in the world do you walk into a store and pick a bottle you're actually going to love? Well, the key is understanding the language on the label, especially the words that tell you about the sweetness. This right here is your cheat sheet, your decoder ring. If you like your wine completely, totally bone dry, you're going to look for Brut Nature. The most popular style you'll see is Brut, and that's still very dry, which makes it awesome with food. As you move down the list to Secco and Semisecco, the Cava gets noticeably sweeter, which can be perfect if you like a softer finish or want to pair it with certain foods. You know, when it comes right down to it, Cava is just so much more than a party drink. It's a direct expression of Spain's land, its native grapes, and a deep-rooted tradition of incredible craftsmanship. There's a saying that tasting a glass of Cava is to experience the excellence of Spanish viticulture. And you know what? It's absolutely true. So is Cava Spanish champagne? No way. It's a proud, delicious, and complex sparkling wine that has its own incredible story to tell. From the driest of the dry Brut Nature to the sweet and luscious Dulce, there is a style of Cava out there for everyone. So the only question left is, which one is going to be yours?